Right. So, have you ever wondered why a perfectly fine dynamic suddenly goes ice cold over just a completely harmless comment? Or why someone might suddenly pick a fight over a delayed text message? Well, today we're diving into the fascinating relationship power dynamics presented by author Olivia Alexa. In her recent work, she breaks down a specific behavioral shift that she claims literally reveals a partner's true level of psychological investment. We're going to unpack her arguments about power, reaction, and emotional attachment to see exactly what is happening beneath the surface of these everyday interactions. Let's get right into it.
So let's tackle this really common mystery. Why do minor actions trigger major reactions? I mean, we've all been there, right? Think about the last time you sent a harmless text, or maybe you just forgot a minor detail, or were genuinely just busy, and suddenly your partner is acting completely icy, or they throw a little jab out of nowhere. Honestly, a lot of people immediately assume that if someone's bringing up minor things or getting upset over something so small, it must mean they're pulling away or losing interest or looking for an out. And naturally, we start panicking, wondering, wait, what did I do wrong? But Olivia Alexa's framework suggests something entirely different, and frankly, deeply counterintuitive is actually happening in the background.
The source argues that when a woman shifts from a neutral, totally indifferent state to suddenly reacting to minor things, it actually signals that she cares far more than she wants to admit. Think about a truly neutral state for a second. It's pure indifference. If someone doesn't care about you, they do not care if you text back in 5 minutes or 5 hours, right? They're completely unaffected. But the very second your everyday actions start to affect her mood without you doing anything extra, you're witnessing a massive psychological shift. According to the author, that reactivity isn't a sign of the relationship decaying. It's actually hard evidence of emotional investment. Simply put, she's reacting because you matter.
Moving on to Section 1, let's decode the hidden mechanism known as the silent impact loop.
The author defines this silent impact loop as the exact moment her ego becomes involved and her emotions are triggered. And this basically proves you've successfully gotten into her head. Here's the truly fascinating part, though. This happens entirely subconsciously. She isn't thinking logically in this moment. She is simply reacting. Because her ego is now tied to your actions, she's developed these internal expectations of you. Think about it. When you're just a casual acquaintance, there are zero expectations. But the source claims that this very expectation and the emotional friction that happens when it isn't met is the absolute dead giveaway of psychological attachment. You've basically gone from a background character to someone whose actions dictate her emotional weather.
And this brings us to a really interesting biological claim from the author. Women are wired to protect their emotions until they feel a man is valuable enough to affect them. The logic here is pretty powerful. From an evolutionary standpoint, a woman's emotions are naturally guarded to protect her from investing in the wrong partner. So, if she is getting upset or passive-aggressive or reactive about something seemingly minor, it's proof that she has already categorized you as someone important. The friction you're experiencing isn't necessarily a bad thing at all. It's actually a byproduct of your own high value in her eyes. It's a defense mechanism acting up precisely because she feels vulnerable.
This brings us to Section 2, a real-world scenario. Let's look at the classic unanswered text.
To ground this theory, the source provides a real-world email anecdote about a guy who was genuinely busy and couldn't text a woman back one evening. Now, he didn't ignore her as part of some game. He was honestly just tied up with work and life. But the next morning, instead of silence, she blew up his phone with, "Guess I'm not that important anymore. It's fine, do you?" Notice the tone there? It is dripping with passive aggression. But looking through the lens of the author's framework, this perfectly demonstrates that silent impact loop in action. She is visibly frustrated specifically because her internal expectations of his attention weren't met. I mean, if she didn't care, she wouldn't have texted at all. So the absolutely crucial point here is how he handled this. He didn't argue, and he definitely didn't launch into some massive apology for being busy. He simply replied, "Was tied up with something? You good?" According to the source, staying completely calm and non-reactive like this caused her to instantly fold, open up, and apologize. The author notes that the moment he sent this grounded, totally unbothered message, the woman's demeanor completely shifted from distant and cold to warm and apologetic. She even admitted she had no idea why she got so worked up in the first place. This interaction, according to the framework, is the ultimate proof of holding your power by simply not participating in the emotional chaos.
Which leads right into Section 3, where most men fail, and the trap of overcompensating.
The author points out a massive trap right here. When faced with an emotional reaction, most guys instantly default to chasing validation. They panic, they apologize profusely, or they over-explain their entire evening just to get the relationship back to a comfortable baseline.
But doing so completely ruins the dynamic. It flips the power entirely against you, turning you into the one chasing her approval. The author argues that this dynamic was actually already in your favor, and by panicking, you just handed it right away. To maintain control, the source insists you've got to hold the frame. You do this by staying calm, non-reactive, and grounded. You don't match her emotional spike, you stay exactly where you are, acting as the anchor.
All right, section 4, flipping the power dynamic and reclaiming control.
The actionable strategy here is simple in theory, but, it can be incredibly tough to execute in the heat of the moment. Step 1, do not react emotionally. When the slick comments or sudden emotional pullbacks happen, let her feel her emotions without you trying to jump in and correct the moment. Step 2, stay above the moment. This means internalizing the fact that you are not obligated to fix her temporary emotional spike, especially when you did literally nothing wrong. And step 3, lean into certainty. This is really about knowing exactly where you stand. According to the author's framework, you already know she's deeply invested because she's reacting, so there's absolutely no logical reason to panic.
The source actually recommends a very precise response to these situations. You say, "You don't usually get like this. Something bothering you?" But the delivery is absolutely everything here. You have to say this slowly, genuinely, but with zero emotional weight behind it. You're just acknowledging her state without being pulled into it. It's kind of like observing the weather without letting it ruin your day. And crucially, once you ask it, you stop. You do not press. You don't interrogate her. According to the author, by holding that silence and remaining an unbothered rock, she will eventually come forward, drop the attitude, and inadvertently confirm that you've successfully maintained the upper hand. Ultimately, the big takeaway here is to reframe how you view these conflicts. We really need to recognize these emotional reactions not as relationship mistakes that desperately need fixing, but as glaring signs that you already have her emotionally invested. Just remember the core tenets. Words mean nothing compared to actions and underlying feelings. Emotional reactions equal investment. And above all, never chase, over-explain, or play into emotional games. You aren't trying to earn anything in that moment, because the reaction itself proves the dynamic is already in your favor, as long as you stay in control and hold your frame.
For those interested in diving deeper into intentionally triggering these shifts, the author details her full framework in her book, Attraction Secrets. It's a genuinely fascinating look at how to command investment and navigate these subtle power dynamics on command without ever having to step out of that grounded, non-reactive state we just talked about.
As we wrap up this explainer, it really leaves us with a provocative question. Does viewing relationships through this precise lens of power dynamics give us healthy control, or does it unnecessarily complicate natural human connection? We've decoded how a sudden, frustrating shift in mood can actually signal deep psychological investment, and how staying perfectly non-reactive can maintain a specific dynamic. But it certainly leaves us with a whole lot to ponder about the true nature of our romantic interactions. Thanks for joining me today, and keep questioning the dynamics around you.